Hi friends, this is Krish, the Urban Naxal. Friends, today I am going to give you an explanation of a Hindi video I made yesterday about Godrej Emerald project Thane. Now, I have made this in Hindi because I want to reach out to all these people who speak Hindi and even allied languages like Marathi and Gujarati. I am aware, however, that there are a large number of people, South Indians, who may not follow Hindi as well as the North Indians do. So I am going to give you this same explanation, maybe in slightly more detail in English. So friends, first of all, let us ask a philosophical question. When a flat buyer gives lakhs or crores of rupees to a builder like Godrej, what is he expecting? Of course, he is expecting a flat at the end of it, but the flat is going to come many years later. In the meanwhile, what safeguards him? Paperwork. So he has a registered agreement. Before registered agreement, of course, there's a bunch of other paperwork. There is the application form, there is the allotment letter, there is a bunch of paperwork that the builder will give you, and you expect that paperwork to safeguard your interest. You don't expect that paperwork to take you into trouble. You don't expect that paperwork to be drafted in a way that is against you, that allows the builder to take away your money. So, the first principle of fairness is that when you are entering into a transaction, especially with an extremely well-known entity like Godrej, you expect transparent paperwork and fair dealings. There is a deviation from transparency, that's a cause of worry. If there is a deviation from fairness of the terms and conditions, that's a cause of worry. You should know about it in advance. If there is a blatant violation and dilution of their contractual obligations which are cast upon them by means of a paper called the agreement, the sale agreement, the builder-buyer agreement, then that is a cause for very serious concern. If there is blatant conflict of interest, because the builder has the interest of other people at heart and those interests appear to be overpowering your interest, boss, the shit has hit the ceiling. It is massively bad for you, the flat buyer. What I am going to show you about Godrej Emerald Thane is that kind. It is the third category. It is extremely bad for you as a flat buyer. Why? Let me explain this based on mainly what I found on RERA and a little bit of internet research, googling around, just a little bit, not too much, because that was enough to show the contradiction. Now let me explain what you find on RERA, and any of you can go to RERA today and confirm what I have said. First of all, Godrej Emerald Thane is shown as a project on RERA, which is a registered project, therefore they can market it. The name of the promoter is given as Godrej Greenview Housing Private Limited. The details on RERA were modified on 16th November 2021. So it is relevant, it is reasonably recent. We are now in February 2022. Sounds okay. Now let us look at what is on RERA. RERA discloses that there are going to be 7 towers of 28 stories standing on 4 floors of podium, and it discloses that most of the flats, a very large percentage of the flats, have been already booked. So this is what it is disclosing. Also it's disclosing something else, that the date for completion of each of these buildings, building number 1 to building number 7, is June 2024. However, the completion date of the entire project is given as 2026. Is this an area of worry? Little bit, considering that the project seems to have been an ongoing project as far back as in 2016. So what they are saying here is, to complete this project which is owned by Godrej, you are going to have to wait 8 years to 10 years. This is what they have said. So if there was an early bird flat buyer, early bird investor who put his money with Godrej, who gave token and booking amount as far back as 2016, maybe sooner, I don't know, then he is going to have to wait 8 to 10 years to get possession of his flat in any of these buildings. Is that a concern? You tell me. But if this is all there was, I would say, well, okay, 2024 is not so far off, it is 2022. I would have said, fine, this is not a problem. But then it is more problematic. There are many, many more problems which begin to arise. So what is the biggest problem? The biggest problem here is there is a complete lack of transparency, and what is told to you in your agreement with the builder is very different from what is actually the risks that are being loaded on you and the actual transaction that is happening. These two things are very, very different. That is an issue. So let us look at their various agreements. First of all, you are going to enter into an agreement not just with Godrej. You are entering into an agreement with Vihang Enterprises and Godrej. Vihang Enterprises seems to have been a developer who amalgamated several lands, purchased, entered into dealings with the landowners and so on, got them together and then started building a project. In 2016, around June, Godrej seems to have entered into a bunch of agreements which made this into a Godrej project. Godrej project. For you, the entry of Godrej is generally going to sound like good news. For you, the flat buyer, Godrej is the stamp of quality. You have a very high regard for this brand. Why? Because their activities included making cupboards, making steel safes, making locks, making some of the most amazing hardware, most secure hardware, very high quality. It is a brand that is like it's made of gold. It's an amazing brand, Godrej. So for you, it sounds like very good news, and it should be. Now, if you add more masala to this good news and say, hey, you know what? We are also going to bring foreign direct investment into this project. Is that good news or not? Foreign direct investment sounds like amazing news. Why not? Please bring foreign direct investment into the project. I mean, who doesn't want foreign direct investment? Sounds great, right? Well, I wonder. Because I wonder if foreign direct investment was necessarily a very good thing for people who are flat buyers when it dilutes their rights. Now, why would I say that foreign direct investment diluted the rights of the flat buyer? Let me explain. There is this entity called Godrej Residential Investment Program 2, short form GRIP 2. Now, GRIP 2 is a private limited company registered in Singapore. GRIP 2 has acquired 80% of the equity share capital in the company with whom you signed an agreement, Godrej Greenview Housing Private Limited. So you as a flat buyer signed an agreement with Godrej Greenview Housing Private Limited. I'll call it Godrej Greenview now onwards. And Godrej Residential Investment Property, GRIP 2, I'm just going to call it Grip 2 now. Grip 2, remember, is a Singapore company. And it has invested in this. It has taken 80% of the equity share, which is the controlling share by far, overwhelmingly controlling share. Now they are saying Godrej, okay, Godrej is they are saying that this company has ceased to be a subsidiary of Godrej Fund Management. More or less what they seem to be saying is, Baba, now the Singapore people are going to take care of this project. Does it sound good? Yes, it sounds good. You are a flat buyer. The Singapore guys are now going to take care of this project. Sounds excellent news, right? Okay, but there are issues. The Grip 2 is now inside of this company with whom you have entered this agreement, Godrej Greenview. But what is Grip 2? Grip 2 is an investment program. Whom does it represent? It represents investors abroad, in Singapore or wherever else in the world. I don't know. What is its commitment? What is the commitment of Grip 2 to those investors? To give them maximum returns for their money. Does the commitment include giving you guys, the flat buyers, a flat really early? Not necessarily. The investors are not concerned with whether you get your flat in time or not. They are interested, the investors of Grip 2, we don't know what their terms are. But whatever their terms are, the investors of Grip 2, probably high net worth individuals, are only interested in a very good rate of return. And now this entity, Godrej Greenview, with whom you entered into an agreement, which has been inhabited by, which is possessed by the spirit of this Singapore company, proceeds to dilute its own obligations, its own contractual obligations towards you, the flat buyer. How does it dilute it? By giving a contract to another one of its own companies, Godrej Company, and it says, hey, listen, you know what? We are going to enter into a development manager agreement, a development management agreement. So Godrej Greenview gives the work of doing the actual building to Godrej Properties Limited. Again, Godrej Properties Limited, well-known company, needless to say, you should feel happy. And then Godrej Properties Limited involves, in some way, I don't think it is there on RERA, an investment company which is also based in Singapore. And so if you read this development agreement, this development management agreement, what you read is something like this. Now I'm going to give you a layman's view understanding of what is being done here. It is like you have shook hands with Godrej's right hand. Godrej's right hand was this company called Godrej Greenview. So you have done a handshake with Godrej Greenview, right hand, okay? Unknown to you, a left hand belonging to a Singapore entity over which Indian courts have no jurisdiction, let me tell you. A Singapore entity has entered unknown to you, or mostly unknown to you unless you have studied it and thought about it a lot, has entered inside the hand with which you have shaken hands. So you are actually shaking hands with a Singapore company which does not have the intention or does not have the mandate of necessarily giving you your flats in time, but has another mandate which is very important for that. That mandate is to give maximum amount of return to its investors. So you are shaking hands now with this possessed hand, Godrej's possessed hand. Now this possessed hand called Godrej Greenview hands over the work of actually building to another company called Godrej Properties Limited. And now Godrej Greenview, instead of being the people you are going to hold responsible, have themselves tied up another company called Godrej Properties Limited. It is Godrej. So you call, let us say, the right leg of Godrej. So right leg of Godrej now got involved. Godrej Properties Limited. And they are saying, you know what, the Godrej Properties Limited is now going to do everything which we should have been doing. Everything. Then the development management agreement explains everything. Now, what is in this everything? Well, for one thing, they created a new term which nobody knows. You don't know, I don't know. The whole thing is referred to as the platform project. Platform project. Remember, you are a flat buyer. You have booked in Godrej Emerald. What is platform project? Not defined on RERA. Where it is defined is a big blank. In this document, they have blanked it out. Now, this is where things really get serious. Godrej is hiding things from RERA, and Godrej is hiding things from you, the flat buyer. It is actively hiding things because the part of this document where platform project was defined and specifications of the platform project, and specifications of the platform project were defined, have been wiped out, have been blanked out. Moreover, the terms of payment, how much is this company, Godrej's right hand with whom you shook hands, paying to the development manager and under what conditions, is generally blanked out. Many parts of it are blanked out, so you don't know what they're hiding. So now it has become like, I'm sorry to use these sexist these things, but let me give you an idea. It has become a bit like a woman wearing a very long sleeved, very modest looking thing, provided you see over the table. It looks like a woman who's covering her body, but under the table she is wearing a miniskirt which shows everything. This is the kind of weird kind of a document which you are seeing here on RERA. So what are you seeing? They are saying that there's a subscription and shareholder agreement. They are saying that the company is going to create a number of accounts. They are saying that the company, that is your Godrej Greenview, is going to make payments every quarter for a development manager. For doing what? Basically doing what you are doing. What Godrej Greenview is supposed to be doing. Making the building. Promoter. You are the promoter. You are supposed to be making the project. For doing the same thing, now they are supposed to pay Godrej Greenview. But then it gets worse. The terms and conditions between these different entities are such that Godrej Greenview will pay penalties to the development manager, who is, by the way, not directly in connection with you, who you as a flat buyer have nothing to do with. You are not in agreement with the development manager. They are, you are not. They will pay penalties to the development manager for late payment at the rate of 1.5% per month. 1.5% per month in case right hand of Godrej fails to pay right leg of Godrej. Which means that if they want, they can make payments of 1.5% per month, late fee payments, and continue letting that entity with whom you don't have anything as a flat buyer, enable that entity to earn 18% interest per annum. Now, this is what the Godrej Greenview, which is possessed by the spirit of Grip 2, which is a Singapore entity, is doing. This is the kind of agreements. And then it gets worse. There is another thing called an investment management agreement, which is between GRIP2 and investment manager. And they have entered into investment management agreement with Godrej Fund Management Private Limited, not Indian, Singapore. Godrej Fund Management Private Limited is an entity in Singapore, PTE Limited, Singapore. What is its function? I don't know. Is it defined? No. Is it on RERA? No. It is not. It's only a Singapore based entity. The kind of terms and conditions that are there, you really should look at RERA. Go to RERA and take a look at it. The terms and conditions that are there between these companies, they say platform project costs will be incurred in accordance with the operating budget. Any deviation beyond 10% of the operating budget will require prior approval of company and GRIP2. Now company means Godrej Greenview, which is already possessed by the spirit of GRIP2, like a ghost, like a zombie. Okay, it is possessed from inside by this Singapore entity. So the company and GRIP2 is now going to give approvals for a deviation beyond 10%. What does this mean? What this means is the project cost can escalate. They can keep pumping money into the development manager. They can basically divert the funds. And what happens if the funds get diverted? If the funds get diverted, my friends, where are the funds coming from? The funds, my friends, are coming from you, the flat buyer. That's where the funds are coming from. Where else are the funds coming from? They may be coming from, they may be taking project loan. I haven't checked that part out. If they take a project loan, if they take project finance, the entire money, project finance and your money all mixed up together in a nice slurry, a softie, a smoothie, is going to be channeled in penalty payments and deviation payments and all these kind of things to the offshore entity or to another entity which is Indian, which is Godrej Properties, but you are not in direct connection with Godrej Properties, so you can't sue them. If your project runs out of money, if this company, Godrej Greenview, runs out of money, you know what happens? They'll say, okay, sorry, we can't construct, or they will come up with 100 reasons because they're very smart. You, the flat buyer, you are screwed. Why are these guys doing all these kinds of things? Why is it not a straightforward transaction? Now this is something you, the flat buyer,